Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Aitken, and on this show each week we take a couple of the races coming up in Hong Kong on the weekend and try to isolate an element of those races which we might look back on as being decisive. The first race we're going to have a look at on Sunday at Sha Tin is race 1, and the winning factor here, the tempo. Now this is a class 4 over 2,000 metres, and these lower grade middle distance horses have been racing each other most of the season, taking their turns to win, and so often it is the tempo that has determined the outcome. Although to his credit, we have seen Clement Legend manage to win 4 on succession, and that's not easy to do, but he is starting to look at his mark, so I'm looking at this as a pretty even field. Now some fans will look at this race and they'll be drawn to Bring It On by virtue of Victor Wong's £7 claim. And that is one aspect of the horse that's attractive. It makes him well handicapped on his win a few starts ago over this course. But I'm more interested in the horse because of the way that Victor employs that handicap advantage with the allowance. One of the mistakes that many riders make is going too slow in the middle of races, particularly these longer races. And in race 366 we saw a number of these horses met, and that was exactly the scenario. Salto Olimpico was going too slow in the lead, and halfway through the race the complexion changed completely. Horses started taking off from the back, and it was a crazy, difficult tactical race. Amazing Agility, who's always had a good turn of foot, was able to out-sprint them over the last 400 metres, but that isn't a result that I think you can take away and rely on for the future. Now I just want to show you Victor Wong's statistics so far on front runners. What we like about Victor Wong so far is that he's not often guilty of standing on the brakes in front and going too slow, and he gets better results this way. On this graphic you see on the left Victor's winning percentages when he's in front at different parts of his races, and on the right a comparative sample from all jockeys in almost 10,000 Hong Kong races since 2006. As you can see, Victor's record compares very favourably. Now part of that is because he has that claim allowance, and that helps, but it's also the way that he employs that claim and the way he uses the tactics on his horses. Now we're going to have a look at one of Victor's recent wins. This is on Bingo, and you see here of course he was advantaged by multi-million running off the track, but Victor took up the front running there. He inherited it really, and he was happy to keep up what was already a quite strong gallop from the 800 metres to the 400 metre mark, and that won him the race. He was well clear when they turned for home, and even though Bingo was, he probably had enough by the time that they got down to the wire, that's one of the aspects that Victor employs in these front running rides that wins fans, particularly someone like me. I like seeing horses well used. Now if we go back to Bring It On's last win in December for Sylvester de Souza, we'll see that the heat map here shows the tempo picked up before halfway and was quite sustained over the second half of the race, and that was down to Vincent Ho on the leader. Poaching Treasure did a good job with his sectionals here, and Bring It On was able to get over the top of him. But what this shows us is that Bring It On can cope with holding a solid tempo. Now if we look at the map for Sunday's race, you'll see that not only does that kind of tactic suit Victor Wong, but it also suits this race. And he's as quick as any horse in the race. Bring It On in the early stages. He could find the lead. Perhaps he'll just be in the first couple, but he may well lead here. And Victor will be able to roll along in front on him, use that claim well, and that's going to make him tough to beat. So the tip in race 1 on Sunday is Bring It On. His winning factor, the tempo. He's a fit, in-form horse. He's got the claim that makes him well handicapped. But more importantly, I think that he's shown, and Victor Wong has shown, that they can both handle sustaining a good, even tempo and make it tough for them to be run down. The second race we're going to take a look at for Sha Tin this Sunday is race 8. And our winning factor here, the draw. Let's take a look at the field, and we've got a number of handy gallopers here. Recent winners, Noble Steed, Smart Charade, Happy Force, and a number who are knocking on the door for a win coming up. Horses like Beauty Spirit, Comfort Life, and Earth Trilogy, who didn't run too badly at his debut. But I want to zero in on a horse who's been racing particularly well from difficult barriers and now gets an important change, and that is Happy Force. Now if we look at this graphic, we'll see the draws that Happy Force has had in all his starts. He's really only started to find form in his last 4 runs, beating the smart Right Choice a couple of runs ago and then third to him last time. But as you can see, he hasn't been getting much help from his barriers. If we look at race 276, Happy Force's most recent win, he drew outside here, as you already know, and he zipped across the face of the field and did quite a bit of work in the early and middle stages, but he sticks on well despite the challenge of the talented runner-up. If we go to race 337, his most recent start, he does a similar job again. This time, Right Choice is able to turn the tables. Right Choice had a better draw and a weight swing and was able to get the better of him, but it was still an excellent effort from Happy Force. As you'd be aware, Right Choice has won again since, confirming the worth of that form, and now we have Happy Force coming into a race where it probably doesn't have quite the same depth, and he also gets a barrier for a change. On the map, a couple of his main rivals like Beauty Spirit and Noble Steed find themselves out in the cheap seats this time, but Happy Force now has the inside gate. He should have no trouble holding the leading role. That obviously suits him. So the tip in race 8, Happy Force. His winning factor, the draw. He's been very competitive, more than competitive really, from wide gates, and now Happy Force gets an inside draw that should enable him to save energy for the finish. So he looks very hard to beat. Well, that's it from the winning factor this week. Good luck on Sunday. We'll see you next time.